everybody, and welcome to the Elseworlds Exchange. I am Sal. This is Caped Joel from the YouTube channel Caped Joel, and today we are going to be talking about comic book video games. That's right, the two titans, if you will, of our generation.
It really is,
Media
which is hard to
titans
believe.
coming together. This is the video games are the culprit, according to the comic book industry back in the 90s, for why people weren't reading comic books. I remember that was a huge argument that...
It's still kind of a thing. I remember when, I don't know if it was Iron Man 1 or Iron Man 2, it came out close to like the release of a Grand Theft Auto, and they're like, oh, could this possibly impact the box office of the movie? I'm like, no, I'm going to buy the game in the morning, play the shit out of it, and then come movie time, I'm going to go watch Iron Man, and I'm going to have a great day.
Well, yeah, it's also like the 12-year-old Grand Theft Auto players. I mean, I played it also not being a 12-year-old, but like, you know, like, first of all, not all media is created equal, and not all media is deliberately like, just because you're trying to compete with this budding industry doesn't mean that they are eking into your, like, just because you play video games doesn't mean that you are not gonna watch Iron Man. Like,
That's
come
true.
on.
I know it's such a weird thing where it's like, hey, you know, my game's still gonna be there when I get home.
Right, exactly. That's the best part about video games, is that you could fucking put it down and get back to it later. A movie, you gotta make it's a whole experience. You
gotta make a showtime. Yeah,
I gotta know what time it starts. I gotta get there a little early. I gotta make sure I have food out like beforehand or
you gotta go buy the store. You gotta go buy your snacks at the corner store and then smuggle them in your jacket because you don't want to pay jacked up concession prices.
Easily the only reason the Five Below is still in business over by my AMC. Like,
really?
Easily the only way. And by the way, you walk in and there's just two entire rows of snacks. Salty, chocolate, sweet, and then like retro, and they know what they're doing. They might as well put a fake movie box office in the front lobby and just say, yeah, you know, just have at it. Enjoy your $1.50 gummy bears that are $6 for the exact same box, and these are Haribo gummy bears, so they're gonna be awesome.
Oh yeah, the ones that give you horrible diarrhea.
No, those are the sugar-free ones. Haribo is just a great brand that makes, for me, the best gummy bears of all time.
They are pretty nice. I know there's a theater around where I live, and I don't want to out where I live, but it's an old like retro revival theater where they got like it's half movie theater and half like film museum where they got like a bunch of old projectors and everything.
Oh, cool.
And here's the thing, that place didn't know if it could stay open when the big switchover went from like digital, or like from film to digital.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh no, we might not be able to do this. But they eventually did a fundraiser and they kept their doors open. What I was trying to say is, as it pertains to snacks, literally because they're like a mom and pop operation, and I guess they can't pay for all the distributors and everything.
Yeah.
Their concession stand is just stuff that it looks like they grabbed from the corner store and put up there, and they're just popping popcorn in the back in a microwave. And I'm like, this is cool.
That is cool. I love that. Back when I went to college, I went to a place called Randolph-Macon College in Ashland, Virginia. So I spent a lot of time in Richmond, and there's a little area in Richmond called Carytown, which is just a really fun street full of really awesome shops, like One-Eyed Jack's gaming store. Now, long after I've graduated, there is a retro video game store in that block where they're selling Genesises, and not for exorbitant prices. Like, you can get a fucking Sega Genesis with some games for like $30. It was amazing to see when I came back. But the thing they have there that is the crown jewel of Carytown for me is the Bird Theater, spelled with a Y for no reason.
Because bird is the word.
It is a literal monument to classic cinema. It is just an old theater that has one screen, and, you know, the beautiful marquee on the front, the beautiful, like, they have like a beautiful sculpted sidewalk, one ticket terror, and when you go in, you into this beautiful lobby, and there's ornate structures and you know, statues and marble and wood carvings, and they used to have this like claim to fame where they had this like 200-year-old man who knew how to play the organ like a bandit.
Oh, nice.
And he rose from the middle of the stage, like they had the organ on like a pulley system, so he rose out from under the stage and then played the organ for a while. He took his applause, and then they just lowered him back down like the Wizard of Oz. It was really cool. And not only did they have this beautiful theater, but they showed movies that I wanted to see at midnight. They had the midnight, you know, cult movie classics, and that's where I got to see Raiders,
Nice,
Temple of Doom
nice.
and Last Crusade, Back to the Future, Mallrats,
All great.
just a bunch of fantastic flicks. But seeing Raiders on a screen that was built in the time period that Raiders is set in was something else, and it was just an amazing.
I guess it would
experience.
be.
It was so fucking great. But I love the celebration of movies. The movie theaters when I grew up were shit kicker bull crap. Like it was
Yeah.
a Cinema 12, which is now a bow tie, and the Cinema 12 it was so crappy. It was pre stadium seating. Had no idea what that was at the time. Just seats. It might as well just be lawn chairs on a concrete surface, and you just look up at the screen, just hoping to get.
Try not to hurt your neck.
Just hoping, yeah, not to get a neck cramp after 2.5 hours. And they didn't give a fuck. That's where I saw South Park for the first time as a kid.
Oh,
like,
wicked.
before the movie came there, before I was allowed to see it, because they didn't give a shit. We just bought tickets for whatever, and they were like, I don't know, but just so crappy.
We ain't gonna stop you. You know, it's funny to talk about, classic movie theaters as it pertains to video games, which, yes, chat, we know that.
Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there.
It's hilarious that, old movies you can enjoy anytime, any place because there's no ceiling on it. But, if I want to go back and play like an old Genesis game, or if
Yeah.
I want to play like an N64 game, that takes a bit of work, doesn't it? Because you actually do need to find a cool retro shop if you didn't keep your stuff in pristine condition.
Exactly. Well, or eBay. I remember when eBay first came out, which is a little dating me, but like when eBay first came out, one of the first purchases I made was a Nintendo Entertainment System in its original box.
Nice.
Just getting it back because I had one and it was just beat to shit. Mostly because, outside of blowing into the cartridge, my little method of making the Nintendo work was to just give it a little love tap right at the top.
As you can only do to old technology. Like all you kids today who grew up in the world of plasma TVs and HDs and everything, you will never know the simple joys and the simple majesty of smacking the shit out of your rabbit ears TV to make it work. And it would do it for some reason. I don't understand the science. I'm not an engineer.
No, and it worked. That's the thing. Like, it wasn't psychosomatic. Like the blowing into the cartridge, by the way, apparently not only not functional, but also hurts the game because your spit gets onto the chips and fucks it up. Apparently, the way to do it, if you really want to clean your NES cartridges, you get a Q-tip, you dip it into some rubbing alcohol, and you're done, and it looks amazing. You're just peeling away time. You feel like an archaeologist. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there are some skin cells of my 9-year-old self in here. Just an amazing experience going back and revisiting that.
God forbid you take your PlayStation 4 or your Xbox One and you try and smack it to make it work.
Well, because everything's a disc. So, if you have your Xbox up, right, or your PS3, for example, or PS4 now, but and you have a corded controller and you pull on it a little bit and it just goes thunk, you have to have a miniature panic attack where you're like, everything's broken. Not only is the disc definitely scratched, but the hard drive probably jolted out of its system. I know I lost my totally fucked.
Yeah, it's funny with technology. The further we go, the more fragile things have become, despite how much
utterly
better they've become.
disposable. Like I keep one of my NESs is in my shed in the back. It's been there for years.
Nice.
I guarantee you, if I plug it in, if I plugged it in now, it would work fine.
Back in our day when things were made to last, there's actually a great product out there right now. I don't know if it's called like the Retro Force or it's called the Retro something. And basically, it's a box that you can buy. A box you can buy totally custom. And it's got like hookups for all your old games, and you can plug it into your new like HD TV or whatever.
Yes, I love that. I've seen a couple of versions of like the all system where you just plug them all in. They have all the slots, all the.
What an amazing idea.
Yeah, what a life, what a world we live in, what a future we could have expected. The fact is, the future that we are living in, I don't need that box. I got a phone. I got an emulator on here. I can play every Nintendo game, every Sega Genesis game, every N64 game I've ever not owned for free right here. I can bring it with me. I can play Ocarina of Time while I'm taking a crap. Like, it's an amazing world we live in.
Wouldn't it be great to travel back in time with your phone and show like little you, hey, in the future, you're going to be able to carry around all these games on your phone in a semi-legal emulatory kind of way.
Yeah, exactly. Now, all right, so speaking of retro video games and retro gaming in general, and how it pertains to what we're talking about here. Let's talk about some older
Retron
games.
5, thank you,
Retron 5.
Amazing Spider, thank you.
Now, older okay, so comic book video games. Comics, I think sooner than movies, caught on to the craze of video games and like wanted to jump right in, and they did. And I remember for the Nintendo, at least, there were a couple of comic book must-haves for me. And when I say must-haves, I don't mean like I must have them now. I mean I must have had them back then. And one of them is, people have asked me to mention it just because it's so terrible, is the Silver Surfer video game.
Oh god, unwinnable, practically. Well, I mean, completely unwinnable.
Designed to be unwinnable for no friggin' reason. And you know what's funny? Like, when you talk about retro video games, and especially comic book video games, like, you can never escape the conversation of this. When they were making Nintendo games, and when they were making Atari games and, games such as, like, around that time, they didn't have level design. They didn't have game theory. They didn't have anything to refer to. It's why the first games were just electronic versions of games that you played outside.
Like Pong.
Like Pong. But when it came to games like, what's Space Invaders.
Mm-hmm.
First game where you're like, okay, I get what this is, and it's something I can't do outside. Shoot aliens.
You gotta get your orange Shasta and your all Rush mixtape,
right.
and you can win that.
And then maybe your brother can get the last guy for you.
God, I love that all Rush mixtape joke.
All Rush mixtape.
As a Canadian, where Rush is like a national treasure, I love that so much. I'm like, man, if I made mixtapes, I would totally have all Rush mixtapes.
Now, somebody mentioned Superman for the Atari. I did not own an Atari. My parents did not believe in video games until a really, really weird period in my life. But, like, my friend owned an Atari, and we had the Spider-Man Atari game and the Superman Atari game, and they were, there was a red pixel for Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, like, I can't even speak intelligently about it because it's so outside my wheelhouse. It was already retro.
I asked the younger fans out there to Google this right now, what we're talking about, if you don't believe us.
Yeah, just look up these images. I was thinking about, like, having a third window in this and actually showing you some of these things. It would be too complicated. If I had, like, a showrunner... I'm
sure the angry video game nerd has covered these at some point.
No question. But Atari was a little bit before my time. It was already retro by the time I was gaming. But
this is too hilarious. I just Googled Spider-Man Atari. It has game footage, an awesome-looking trailer for it from 1982 with Spider-Man and the Green Goblin playing the game. And then right under that, it's like, hey, would you like the ROM for this game? We can give you the ROM for this game if you would like it.
You can play it right now for free. No. But the Silver Surfer game was basically just kind of like one of those stupid flying games.
It was a bullet hell, or I guess what you would call a bullet hell back then.
Exactly. Not a game, has nothing to, and maybe like some cool art from a comic book that you immediately recognized that they just digitized and then put crappy text at the bottom, which is a trend you'll find for older games.
Oh, yes.
But Silver Surfer sucked, but you know what didn't suck for the NES? The Punisher.
Oh, yes, that on-rail shooter. Yeah.
Yes, the Punisher game that included guest stars from Nick Fury and Spider-Man. Amazing game. Loved the hell out of it. Not much to say about it, just the fact that, like, even as far back as, like, 1988, like, they were making comic book video games. Even as far as the 70s, they were making comic book video games.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the Punisher, because consistently across the board, he has had some very underrated games. There's all the on-rail shooters that you mentioned. There was a great side-scroller. I can't remember for what console that was, but it was like, you were the Punisher, and you were side-scrolling to try and fight the Kingpin. And then when player 2 jumped in, it was Nick Fury, and then you could punch guys together.
There was a freestanding arcade game, and that's the one you're talking about. They also made it for
that was
for a system, but like there was an arcade Punisher game, and
it was just called The Punisher.
It's just called The Punisher, and it's fucking cool. And that's I think a great segue into, for me, like almost what I have more of an authority to talk about when it comes to comic book video games, or my first exposure to them, and that's arcade games. This is where the arcade was like having an Xbox that you had to pay to go visit. And
Exactly.
those
Yeah,
were
and you had to always bum rides to get to the arcade.
exactly. My experience with the arcade, we had an arcade at my mall. My mom would have to take me there, which means I never used the arcade at the mall. However, when we would go down the shore, that place is loaded with arcades, and and all I had to do was just hop on my bike and ride down there, and then kick it with the ne'er-do-wells who also had negligent parents who didn't care what they were up to for like 8 to 10 hours a day.
It was the style at the time, you see, in the age before a helicopter parent.
Exactly. No, they were like, we're on fucking vacation. How about you get on your bike and go away until it's time to eat? When all the streetlights come on, you come back. And if you're not back, when you do come back, you'll be beaten.
Good time.
But the freestanding arcade games of the time, the Punisher game is something that completely I missed, but discovered maybe a month or so ago. Like legitimately a month or so ago, I was trolling ROMs and I found that game and I'm like, this would have been amazing. And I know that because there's another freestanding comic book arcade game that I loved, which was Spider-Man. The one in which all the side characters are just shitty Avengers. And not I mean shitty Avengers now, but like Hawkeye, White Vision, a Black Cat for some reason. Well, she was the most Spider-Man type supporting character that they could use. And no, was it? It wasn't Vision. Vision was in Captain America and the Avengers arcade game. Namor was the other character.
I'm looking at the character select screen right now. They don't even call him Namor. He's just Submariner.
Yeah. Loved that game.
Yeah.
But it was a quarter devourer. But I still remember, and like I loved how it would change things. Like
of course, because that's how you had to build them back then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We got to design them. Like once the Simpsons arcade game we finally became available on the Xbox Live arcade, I bought it the second it came out, and then subsequently beat it in about 30 minutes or less.
That game's hard, but with infinite continues, you can breeze right through it. But you can understand how it's like this. You know, this was just designed to take kids' lunch money.
Exactly. I am in places I was never meant to see. Like, I was
basically
never meant to get to Mr. Burns, yet here I am, and I vanquished you. This
Dude,
ending
that final
sucks.
Mr. Burns boss fight when he's like in a robot and a tank and like the whole story for the Simpsons arcade game is weird because it's like, you know, like darker skinned Smithers from season 1 steals a diamond.
Yeah, they were clearly they were developing that game as the show was in its like 3rd or 4th episode. Like that's how fucked up it is. But were there any other arcade style comic books like themed video games that you have a particular affinity for?
Oh well, yeah. I mean the Marvel versus Capcom,
or its predecessor, X-Men: Children of the Atom.
Yes, which we mentioned last week, which what started up this whole thing in the first place.
Exactly.
Typhoon,
Whirlwind, Berserker Barrage. That will be ingrained in my head forever. And I gotta tell you, this gave my fanboy a raging nerd on, which was that they got the voice actor from X-Men the Animated Series to play Wolverine in the game.
A Canadian actor who also did the voice of Slappy the Dummy in Goosebumps.
I did not know that.
It's true. Yeah. Matter of fact, I'm pretty sure the whole cast of that X-Men show was Canadian.
Oh, they're all, especially Jean Grey and Wolverine. But like Wolverine never sounded more perfect. I know people love Steve Blum. I know people love Hugh Jackman. No. The guy who played Wolverine on the X-Men animated series is definitive. He's got the gruffness. He's also clearly Canadian, and he's not playing it up. He's just like, oh, so what kind of voice do I have to do? They're like, nothing. He's like, all right, I guess that sounds about right. Like, totally.
Smells like a Morlock.
Yeah. Oh, my God. He's so... I want a direct-to-DVD Marvel, like, R-rated Wolverine, like, movie with that guy playing Wolverine.
Wouldn't that be great?
People.
I can still remember all the fighters from that game. It was Iceman, Colossus, Storm, Psylocke, because Psylocke was big at the time.
Psylocke was a great character, too. She had great kick action, and you never saw her again. And Sentinel.
That's right. You could play a Sentinel, Omega Red, because, again, he was also big at the time.
Red, what a cool character to play. The Tendrils, you got great range attacks, but he was also pretty good at close range.
Silver Samurai, and probably the coolest Silver Samurai has ever been in anything ever. I think this game tricked me into thinking Silver Samurai was a cool character when he wasn't.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I mean, like, it depends on how well he's used. Like, in that video game where he doesn't say anything or have any characterization, he is super awesome.
Because he's just a cool outfit and a cool bunch of attacks, and then when you beat a dude, he takes off his helmet and like his long samurai hair is blown, and I'm like, dude, you're cool.
Yes. I think you could also be Magneto.
Magneto and Juggernaut were in the game, but they were like the two final bosses. I don't think you actually got to play as them, or at least I know. I know on the home console version you could, but then again, I could never beat them, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, you could definitely. I think you could be. I remember playing as Juggernaut a couple of times, and it was the voice from the cartoon show for Juggernaut as well, which was awesome. But yeah, that game made me. I was like, oh, we're getting these now. Oh fuck yes! And then they made Marvel Superheroes, which was like the next logical progression, where they just pulled the sprites from those, and then they made Iron Man, and of course, like War Machine was a character, which was just reskinned Iron Man.
I love it when video games do shit like that when it's just reskins.
I mean, like they did it all the way up to Marvel vs. Capcom, like Ultimate 3 Omega whatever, where like you could legitimately download and DLC the crap out of your characters, and it was just like, it used to be that maybe they would match the colors with an alternate costume, like maybe, and that's it. But in this, like, you pick Spider-Man. Oh, which Spider-Man would you like to be? Bag-headed kick-me Spider-Man? Ben Reilly's suit? Which Ben Reilly? Like, there's so many options. It's spoiling, but also because I remember all the shit that came before, it's wonderful. But Marvel vs. Capcom was the one where I went, what are we doing here, games? Like, what's going on here? Like, who asked for the Capcom treatment? But I like it. It's a good game and it's a lot of fun. But like, why? Like, why Capcom? Do you know? I've no idea.
Why not? Why not? That's why.
Right? I guess so. That makes sense.
I mean, hey, you finally get to live all those fan fiction moments of like having freaking MODOK fight Akuma, or like have freaking Amaterasu fight Wolverine because
they're wolves.
Because they're wolves,
or
that's
whatever.
Why. Isn't friggin' Shia-Gorath in one of those too?
Shia-Gorath, yes. I think he was in Marvel Superheroes, and I was like, do we have like is there a limit to the amount of supervillains we can use? Like, why did you scrape the most bottom of the barrel?
Out of everyone, you got the weird starfish tentacle thing.
Yeah, so bizarre to get Shuma-Gorath. And I don't even know, like, I remember he was supposed to be, I guess he's a Doctor Strange villain?
Technically, yeah, that's what I would say.
But,
well, because you also got Dormammu, and you can have, like, Dormammu versus Wesker from Resident Evil if you want.
Yes. I thought it was kind of fun just to see Mega Man in that game.
Yeah,
I was like, what? All right. We'll do this. There was also, and was that the one with like the Infinity Gems, and you had to fight Thanos at the end? I think. That's
yes, it was.
That's cool.
And you fought his heralds, which were just silver reskins of everyone you fought so far.
And that's fine, I guess, if all of Galactus's heralds were silver, which they're not. It was just one of them that did that.
They are now. We're rewriting. Actually, I'm pretty sure Galactus 2 has some bullshit when you fight him. Like, if you don't beat him in X amount of time, I think he just automatically kills you.
Oh, yeah. If you dilly-dally, if you're not doing any attacks, he will definitely just be like, okay, just wall of power raise, just
which I guess by all right makes sense. Like, in an actual fight with Galactus, that's how it would go down.
Oh, yeah.
Where's my ultimate nullifier button? Where can I throw that out?
I threaten to destroy the universe at you. So as far as freestanding arcade games go, those were made, the fighting games. But the one that I always went back to, the one that I was in love with the most, was the X-Men arcade game. Just X-Men.
Oh, God, yeah.
Which was based off of the Pride of the X-Men show.
Mm-hmm. You know, because freaking what's her name is in it? Dazzler is in it.
Yeah, which I guess they were gonna use Kitty Pryde, but then they went, fuck it, we'll just make it Dazzler with her dazzle powers.
I was lucky. There's like a sports equipment store. It's a chain out here in Canada. I don't know if you have them out where you are. It's like, you have your sports store where you can like buy like knee pads and everything, and then they have like a weird off-brand Chuck E. Cheese like games and prizes thing off to the side.
Okay.
And it was in one of those that I first found the X-Men arcade game.
Nice.
And I played the shit out of it, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever, and I still kind of do.
Yeah, I love it. That's another thing that I had to buy when it came out and was available for, for the Xbox Live Arcade, whatever. Bought the hell out of it, beat it, and man, the worst part, of course, is that your mutant powers hurt you.
Yes.
Using your mutant powers hurts you. What the crap? And I by the way, I know why, because I've beaten that game in 15 minutes with Colossus just and then you run out of mutant power and you just throw yourself into a ditch. So you just like you just completely
you see, I remember as a kid never getting that, so for the longest time I could never get past the blob, like in level 2, I think he's the boss.
Nothing moves the blob, and then you just go
move right through them.
Just blow right through them. Well, I loved interrupting any supervillain or any villain in a video game when they have a monologue, and you can interrupt it by hurting them. Where they'd be like, "Pyro will turn your..." like, wait a minute, I was monologuing.
Total Incredibles moment there. It's like, oh, did you catch me monologuing?
I guess I'll just shoot you with my fire powers.
I like too in that game for some reason the blob carried around a mace, and that always bugged me.
Yeah.
When I'm like, the blob never used it. Why does the blob need a mace?
Right? He's got his huge body. I don't understand. But I guess because it's just so weird, and the video game designers being like, so wait, his power is he's fat? That's not a power.
To the Japanese game designers, who I'm sure have never read an X-Men comic in their life, they're like, what?
Like, can we give him a weapon or something? Like, what do you want him to have? He's the Blob. Like, give him a gun? No. He looks like an oaf or a troll. Give him like one of those troll things.
Give him a fantasy mace. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and Sergeant Blue, the Juggernaut had a bazooka. Like, why? Should just hit you with his Juggernaut head.
As soon as he, starts going, he can't be stopped.
Yeah, exactly. But no,
he is his own rocket launcher.
Yeah, but now let's give him a rocket launcher. Can you imagine the Marvel Universe proper being like, "Oh no, it's the Juggernaut with a bazooka." So not only can he not be stopped, but he'll also hit us with a bazooka.
He's slightly more frightening than he was a minute ago.
Exactly. So arcade games, amazing, and then of course they were able to bring them into our homes when the technology finally managed to catch up with us. Things like the Sega CD or the Dreamcast.
Oh, yes.
The Dreamcast was basically like the arcade machine home version where you could finally get Marvel vs. Capcom 2, or you could get Crazy Taxi or any number of games. But
amazing soundtrack
for Crazy Taxi. But I was thinking about the I wanted to pick a Spider-Man game, and I know we talked about the Spider-Man freestanding arcade game. Spider-Man as a character has such a weirdly storied history when it comes to video games.
Oh god, yes. Some of them really good, some of them really shitty.
Yeah, and some of them were only great in this very, very narrow window of time.
Yep.
And I'm thinking specifically of like the 2001 Spider-Man game for the PC, where it was a whole story, and they got the voice actors from the 90s cartoon show to come back and be everybody except for Spider-Man. And it was all polygons, and it was like an adventure game where you just fought bad guys and collected powers, and like the New York was kind of almost open world. It wasn't quite Spider-Man 2, but it was open world enough for you to like web swing your way through the city and go to different landmarks. Like you go to the Four Freedoms Plaza and like the Human Torch would come out. It was really cool.
I think I might have missed that one. Is that the one where where like Carnage and Doc Ock are in it and everything?
Where they merge and become like Carnage Doc Ock.
Okay, cool. Then I did play that one. Then yes, that was the first Spider-Man game I ever played, and I thought it was the dopest thing ever.
It was the dopest thing, and you could also collect costumes by typing in different Spider-Man trivia. You collected like covers.
Yes, you could.
It was completely fan service, but so goddamn fun.
Venom shows up in it for a second and like does shtick and like is a fan of the cartoon. So I'm like, dude, it's Venom. It's the coolest guy ever. Yeah. Until I get older and realize he's not that cool.
Yeah, he needs to be Flash Thompson.
He did the best shtick where it's like, Spider-Man is telling them. It's like I love that like Spider-Man is telling them all his plan. It's like we're gonna do this, this, and this, and Venom has his hand up. He's like, we know, we know.
Yeah. So who stands to benefit from this action? I don't know. Submariner. Like, come on. Like, it was funny because they made all these references to the grander universe, but how shticky, how stupid.
Amazing Mysterio fight in that too,
Yes.
because for some reason Mysterio's running around as you, and then he gets super tall, and you got to like beat up on his knees and everything.
Yeah, super cool. Then there was, of course, the Ultimate Spider-Man game for like
Which is really underrated.
the GameCube. I loved the crap out of that game. Web swinging
Swinging
has never
felt
been
great,
more
yeah.
fun than in that game.
You could race the Human Torch in that game.
Yep. The racing was what killed the game for me. Like when I had to like chase the Green Goblin, I'm like,
Yeah, that stuff sucked.
I'm out. I can't do this anymore. It was just such
That was
garbage.
rough.
But the game itself, story was solid because it was written by Bendis. The art was really cool because it was designed by Bagley, and just a total really cool.
You got to
fan service
switch
game.
back and forth between Spider-Man and Venom, which was great. And Venom had his own boss battles. You fought Wolverine and you fought like Silver Sable.
Yeah, that was really cool. Now, if you're talking about switching between Spider-Man and Venom, just quick reference to Maximum Carnage. Easily one of my like top favorite games from the for the Sega
You played a
Genesis.
lot on the channel.
Played a lot on the channel, and it's just a ridiculously hard, just ridiculously fun game. Loved the two different storylines that were going on. Super cool. Just solid all the way through. But then they made some other games. Oh, go ahead.
Just a quick aside while we're on good Spider-Man games. Mysterio's Menace for the Game Boy. Probably
Yeah.
the best Game Boy Spider-Man they ever made.
Easily, no question. There was another Spider-Man Game Boy game. I think it was just called Spider-Man.
I think it was too.
And that was a lot of fun. There was also, for the NES and stuff, there was Spider-Man and the X-Men Arcade's Revenge, which was a lot of fun because you could be like Gambit and stuff. That was pretty awesome. But they were just testing the waters. There was that one for the Sega CD with Kingpin. I think it was just called Spider-Man.
Yes.
And that one was crazy cool. And I remember it was also just totally out of my reach because the Sega CD was such a more expensive console. And it was just totally alien and foreign to me.
But totally worth it though, the Sega CD
Oh
for
my
all
God.
that extra
But
video.
You could play movies and stuff. Like that was great. Like you could not movies on the system. No, the game had movie type cutscenes in it. That was really cool.
How ahead of its time Sega was.
I know. And the Spider-Man.
Whatever happened to that company?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I think their reach exceeded their grasp. It was I believe it was an Icarus-esque experience where they flew a little too close to the sun. They basically invented the Xbox before it was time for modems and stuff. Like, yeah, plug your Dreamcast into your phone line. Like, no.
But hey, at least we'll always have Sonic. Oh,
We ruined that brand big time.
franchise a long time ago.
Way to torch that. I mean, the best damn Sonic game easily has to be either Sonic 2, 3, or Knuckles, or some combination thereof.
Yeah, you peaked too early in that series, guys.
It's true. 2, masterpiece. 3, ups its game. Knuckles, I could plug my game into another game and change the last game. Holy shit. Like, that was an amazing experience.
Mind blowing.
It's unparalleled. Never seen any kind of game like attempt that feat before. Take something like, hey, guess what? Here's something you've never seen and you never will again. Fucking amazing. But what was Spider-Man games, super cool or not. The Spider-Man movie games, people say Spider-Man 2, like the movie version is the best Spider-Man game ever.
The swinging was the best, or at
Swinging's
least it was
cool,
pretty good.
but like everything else, like I don't give a shit. Like I also hate Tobey
your
Maguire.
first couple boss fights with Doc Ock were pretty great. You know
Yes. Any Doc Ock fight with Spider-Man should be awesome. But for me, it'll be Ultimate Spider-Man.
Ultimate Spider-Man is really good. Like
Yeah.
again, really hard in parts too. Like all those friggin' chase and tail missions are really
Tail
difficult.
missions are bullshit. Then there's, of course, Shattered Dimensions, which
Oh,
Dan
yes.
Slott wrote and worked with the
did.
company to make.
It was kind of Spider-Verse before Spider-Verse, wasn't it?
Definitely. He's like, I think I could probably take Spider-Verse and or I could probably take this video game and actually bring it into the comics.
What if the 616 Spider-Man and Spider-Man Noir and Ultimate Spider-Man and all these other characters, what if they could interact with each other and you could switch back and forth? Wouldn't that be fun? Oh, in 2099, let's put him in there too.
And let's get all the old voice actors from all the old cartoon shows that I like.
Oh my God, that was so good.
So cool. Such a great idea. It was an amazing game. It was also an amazing attempt where they were like, oh, 4 different styles of gaming.
The guy who voiced Spider-Man in the 90s cartoon is the same guy who voiced Prince Eric in The Little Mermaid. Ain't that weird?
Yes, it is. But you definitely can hear it. Although Prince Eric never swings to the rafters when it comes to his vocal chops. If you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, look up the Black Costume Saga of the Spider-Man 90s cartoon show and check out the episode where he fights Shocker. And for no reason, that guy is like just swinging for the fences in terms of acting, where he's like, "Get back here, Shocker!"
I remember.
Just like screaming his head off.
Going for it.
The only other scene where he does that is when Mary Jane turns into water because it's a Hydro Man clone, and he's screaming like he's on fire.
It's his Oscar scene.
It is. They need to take that scene, put it on YouTube, and just put like for your consideration underneath it.
You know, it's fun. I was lucky enough to get to talk to Josh Keaton, who is the voice of Spider-Man in the Spectacular Spider-Man.
Easily for me, one of the best voices of Spider-Man ever.
I agree. He was also Green Lantern in the sadly ill-fated Green Lantern cartoon. I really wanted to track down the guy from the 90s show and talk to him. Apparently, he doesn't have Twitter. Apparently, he has like no internet presence.
That sucks. You know what you should do? You should call Dan Slott, because clearly the guy knows him there.
Clearly, he was able to find him wherever he's hiding.
He also he used to go to conventions, so.
Did he?
Yeah. I've seen him on like panels, like talking about the show.
That's cool.
Yeah. Jennifer Hale, I think, played Black Cat.
That's right, she did.
When I met Jennifer Hale, we chatted about that a little bit. That was pretty cool.
Jim Cummings was the shocker in that show. Winnie the Pooh was the shocker.
And made no attempt to disguise it in any way.
Nah.
So bizarre. Jim Cummings is a consummate voice actor, amazing talent. I can spot him from a mile away. Like I'm on Route 66 and he is a wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man at the end of the road. Like the second his characters open his mouth, hey, it's Jim Cummings in this. Like if you're watching The Lion King and Jeremy Irons is singing Be Prepared, and then around the end of the song, he leaves and Jim Cummings takes over, and you're like, that's fucking Winnie the Pooh. What the hell happened?
That's how I love that.
But yeah, Jim Cummings just being shocker. I think he's also in Spectacular Spider-Man. He plays like the head of the Enforcers.
Yeah, well, he's all over the place, but yeah, he plays quite a few different characters.
Who he plays in that, but he's everywhere. But then they did a Web of Shadows.
Yeah, I don't think I played Web of Shadows. That's the one where it's like you could jump back and forth between red suit and black suit, and it was kind of like the moral choice thing. It was more like a character action game where it was all about combos and keeping your stuff up.
Yes, not a huge fan of that game, but say la vie.
There's one kind of amazing moment in that. It's I think it's during a fight with Wolverine.
Yeah.
Where instead of like fighting you, he like quizzes you on Marvel trivia.
That's cool.
And I can remember playing that. I'm like, ooh, now it's my time to shine because I know what's up. But those questions are all horribly out of date now because I'm pretty sure if I remember, they were all like trivia questions of stuff that was happening at that moment.
Oh, of course. Right. Who is dead? Which of these characters has never died? Oh, damn it. But yeah, so all right, getting past Spider-Man. So like there are a lot of really, really amazing comic book video games. We were talking about The Punisher earlier, and I know you played the Punisher PS2 game.
By God, that one. That needs an HD re-release. And look, Violition, the studio who made that, who would go on to make the Saints Row games, they are playing that currently for a bunch of live streams they were doing. I tweeted at them saying this needs an HD remake, and you know who else agrees with me? My buddy Jimmy Palmiotti, who wrote the game with Garth Ennis. And then Jimmy Palmiotti, because I tweeted him in, came back and he's like, yes, I agree.
Agreed. That is really cool.
Now let's get Garth Ennis and see his opinion.
Yeah.
And Garth Ennis would be like, stop bothering me.
Yes. He's like, why did I get Twitter? Like, there's a game that came out in the 90s. It's not based off of any particular property. Like, it's a comic book game in the pure sense. And it was a game for the Genesis called Comic Zone.
People in the chat were going on
Now,
about that.
I
Yes.
played this game. I saw it in Wizard Magazine, and I was like, this is bizarre. And it was ridiculous. You're basically a comic book artist that's been pulled into a comic book. You're basically playing Cool World.
You're what Rob Liefeld sees when he closes his eyes.
Exactly. But you are the coolest comic book artist of all time. You got a ponytail, you got sunglasses and cargo shorts and big shirt. Like it's the quintessential 90s video game.
You're what the guys at Image saw themselves as.
Exactly. You are Rob Liefeld in a Levi's commercial. But you can use comic book imagery as your weapons, and such a neat idea, so ahead of its time. And I know there's a huge audience for it, but I also know that I don't know anyone personally who has ever played the damn thing. And so fun, but I was like, hey, you guys want to play Comic Zone? And they're like, you and those comic books, man, could you fucking let it go? We're playing Legend of Zelda. Like, yeah. But I was just like, yeah, Comic Zone. We gotta mention that.
I'm looking at it now. I'm pretty sure they did like a spiritual successor to it not too long ago. Well, actually, a while ago now, where you played like a superhero dude who had a star on his chest, who talked, and like you went through all these different comic-y themed worlds. Like one was a little Sin City, and one was a little like Final Fantasy. I cannot remember for the life of me what that was.
I do not remember what the name. It might have been Freedom Force, but I don't recall. But it was super fun. Like, I remember what you're talking about. Bizarre, but very retro, but like very fun. Okay, so since we're in the 90s a little bit, we could talk about Superman 64 and the most unplayable video game of all time. I mean, everyone talks about how it's the worst game I've ever played, but
I believe forcing people to play it is a war crime. And what's even worse about it is that it's connected to our beloved 90s Superman cartoon, which makes it the worst.
That sucks. Like, it's not enough that this show ended prematurely, but to tie it to this unfucking playable polygon like vomit is just a war crime. I don't even think it's really worth talking about. Just like, don't forget, like, never forget Superman 64. It is a disaster. Never waste your time.
Never forget the Alamo, and never forget Superman 64.
Exactly. As far as
it's a whole game about flying through rings, is what it is.
Flying through rings. You're just being put through the ringer.
Because when you think of Superman, what do you think of?
Oh, easily chase missions and rings, and like and a mist that covers any detail in the game.
And yet, I wonder if you sat a bunch of fans down, what they would say the worst DC comic adaptation is. Would it be that, or would it be Aquaman?
Would it be Aquaman? I was like, wow, they made an Aquaman game. Download emulator, play. Okay, quit.
It's that hook-handed Aquaman 2 from the 90s.
That's the one that they thought was never going to go away. Now, as far as DC video games go, let's talk. Have you ever played Justice League Task Force?
Oh, is that the fighting game they had?
It's the fighting game.
Briefly, it's no Injustice, Gods Among Us. That's for sure.
It is a great prelude to Injustice, because it is the 90s version of all the characters. And they're just fighting, and it's just basically a decent ass, but older console, like maybe 64-bit console video game where you fight your favorite characters, Flash versus Superman. Like, that's a fun game, and it's super cool, and one that was again out of my grasp. There were a bunch of games that I desperately wanted as a kid, and then because I then hit puberty and got fucking distracted, completely missed, like the Tick video game or the Spawn video game. There was
I played the Spawn video game, Spawn Eternal, for the PlayStation 1.
Oh, yes, but there's also a Spawn for the Genesis.
Oh shit.
And that is a lot of fun. I played it once on like a Let's Play like Twitch event, and I just kept dying. But it was really fun to play. But I never played Spawn Eternal. That's the one where you have no cape and you have an axe instead. And then you could download them, and then you could download that version later on Soul Calibur.
Yes, there's that, and then there was also Spawn Armageddon for the PS2.
Yes, okay, is that the one where you could rip people's arms off and then beat them with it?
Okay, no, I think that was Eternal. Okay. Eternal was PS1, and like you said, no cape, and it was this weird kind of like almost RPG, like, okay, you're in a fight now.
Yeah.
And you gotta fight people, and it was really hard to navigate. But like every couple levels you got to switch, like you were Alsim in Spawn, and then you could be like medieval Spawn, which is the thing that I could never get past. I could never get past the medieval Spawn thing because the game was so freaking dark you couldn't see anything.
Oh, of course.
But you did get boss fights against Overkill and the Redeemer and the Violator, so
cool.
that's
I'm sure Tremor was also in it, and I have no doubt they could resist to put Cygor in the game somehow.
Oh, okay, in Armageddon, yes, Cygor was most definitely a boss.
I was a huge Spawn fan, so I would have loved to play all of those games. I just did not have the access or the memory to remember to play them.
What I love too in Spawn Armageddon, when you eventually get to the heaven levels, it's called Heaven Space Station. And it's literally just like the most stereotypical thing of heaven you've ever seen: white puffy clouds, pearly gates, and you're just walking around a Spawn with guns. It's awesome. The most hilarious. Google it. It's hilarious.
I will do more than that. I'll play the damn thing.
It's pretty funny.
There's a game that I think is woefully underrated. It's a game that I don't know if I rented it first or I bought it outright, but I loved it, and it's amazing, and it's a movie adaptation, but it's easily better than the movie. X-Men Origins Wolverine. Oh
God, yeah. Because you know why that was as good as it was? Because apparently, from what I understand, that game was already in development when the movie came out.
That doesn't surprise me. The amount of cool shit in that game is unparalleled. It takes that stupid movie plot and then elevates it, ratchets it up to 100, where like you start off and it's an amazing looking FMV and you're in the future and you're fighting like anti-mutant cops, and then like you get all the way up to like the Sentinel program. You're fighting Sentinels. You could create new combos in different ways with hilarious nicknames for ways to disembowel human beings.
And it was actually M for mature, so you could actually cut people the way Wolverine couldn't cut people in the movies.
You just slaughtered them. Amazing, perfect. I would dare say it's a perfect Wolverine game, a perfect comic book video game adaptation.
I feel the same way about that Punisher game with all the crazy takedowns and executions you could do.
Yeah. They either need to do a remake of that, or I gotta fucking bring that onto the channel.
Plus, I have my PS2 in the drawer under where I'm sitting right now, and I eBayed me a copy of the game. I just could never get the recording stuff together because the actual recording capture card I have is for the HD systems, not for the analog PS2.
That is so frustrating, man. We would do a lot more like console game stuff on this channel, like in some regard, if it were easier to port without buying some asinine capture card. Because I'm not going to spend I'm not going to invest a whole bunch of money in capturing games. We're not really going to play that often, you know?
Exactly. If you're going to spend the money on it, you better be a professional Let's Player, and that better be your job. You better be ready to earn some money back.
Yeah, which I'm not going to be doing. There's another game that before I get to that, let's talk about Marvel Ultimate Alliance.
First, yes, and the X-Men Legends, because they're basically the same game.
X-Men Legends, okay, but that's the prelude. That comes out first. It's great and super cool. I played it for a few minutes and hated it because I don't like those style of games. As it turns out, I would think it would be perfect for somebody like me. No. But Tiffany adores X-Men Legends and had like her own stable of characters. She's like, these are my characters. Iceman is definitely on my team.
That was the best part, getting to pick your team. And if you pick the right team, you get like a cool little name thing attached to it.
That is for me. That's exactly what I kind of want. And it's why Ultimate Alliance and stuff like that did that again, where you could create different teams and like New Avengers or like Only Mutants, like super cool. And I'm like pulling out like, okay, now do the Defenders. Now do some like,
Brotherhood of Evil Mutants.
Yeah, do the Brotherhood. Like, yeah, it was very, very cool feature.
I was really bummed. I can't remember if it was that one or the sequel, the Apocalypse one, where I only found out later after the fact you could have gotten Sabretooth as DLC. And I'm like, oh man, I could have had Sabretooth. Yeah.
The Ultimate Alliance game, the first one, those FMVs made me think, well, shit, Marvel, why don't you just make a fucking full CG show or direct-to-DVD movie? Like, what are you doing?
Beautiful. Still beautiful by today's standards.
Still beautiful by today's standards. Ultimate Alliance 2's FMVs can't even hold a candle. I'm like, what the crap? Like, I know
happened?
You fit character. I know you got more characters in, thank you, but the story is just Civil War again. Like, damn it. Like I want to take all my characters and fight Doctor fucking Doom. That's what I want to do. I want to fight Galactus in this game. And
So
that's
many
what we
great
teased.
boss battles. Yeah, at the end, which we never got.
Yeah, the ending we never got. No, thanks a lot. Like, yeah, no, I want to fight Galactus, and this is the only game I'm going to be able to do that. And cooperative. I can bring my fucking friends in, and I could show them a thing or two, and we could all show our strengths. I'll be like, oh no, use that character. They're better ranged attacks. You know, like, because I know all this crap. Amazing. First game, kind of a lackluster second game, but like I almost feel like it was balanced because you got a zillion more characters.
It was cool too because if you picked certain characters to go into certain missions, you got like special exclusive dialogue that you wouldn't get anywhere else. Like if you took Iceman into a fight against like the frost giants from Thor, they'd be like, "Oh, look at this puny man of ice."
Love those.
So good.
There's a Telltale game that we need to talk about because for me,
there's a couple Telltale games.
Yes. Well, there's a couple that are coming out, but there's a Telltale game that I was addicted to, and not even addicted to playing, addicted to watching people play and play with them, which is The Walking Dead.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, like, dude, I have had such a weird history with The Walking Dead, from reading the comic and quitting it because I thought it was getting like too dark and depressing, to being really into the show for the first season, then being really disappointed in season 2, then sticking around for like 2 more seasons before finally like, I don't have time for this anymore. But the games have never disappointed me and have never made me want to leave.
Clementine will remember you said that. Like, just
she will.
That will haunt your days and your nightmares. Such a great goddamn game and such a great attention to detail. I'm in it. You know what I mean? You're just so immersed into the game, and I'm like, holy crap, Telltale can do no wrong. Except when it comes to that Back to the Future game, which
I never played.
Okay. The attention to detail is spot on and spectacular. The fact they got Christopher Lloyd to reprise his role as Doc Brown is amazing. Marty, they got a great kid to play Marty, and then they brought Michael J. Fox back anyway to play like an older Marty. Super awesome and amazing. The game is like hell.
Is it?
Where you're just, at one point you're like at the science fair, and you're just clicking anything to try and end it. And I was like, I had to quit, leave, wait a few days, come back, and it was just like you never left. I was just stuck in this pit. And I have PTSD from playing that goddamn game. I eventually did persevere. I'm like, I beat it, and it was not as satisfying as beating like an old school game or an arcade game where you finally slayed the dragon, but like it's just death. But as far as that goes, like if Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us are any indicator, that Batman game is going to be friggin' awesome. Now, Telltale, if you're not familiar, is making a Batman game, and that's literally all we know. Like, all we know is Telltale, Batman. Are you in? The answer is yes.
They are.
Is it a...
What else do you need to know? What else do you need to know?
Yeah, well, I'd love to know, like, are you a detective? Are you solving crimes? Are you fighting people? Like, what are you doing?
Are you actually playing as Batman, or you're just playing someone tangentially connected to Batman?
Yeah. I want to be
Do
Batman.
you trade off characters every episode like in the Game of Thrones game?
That would be friggin' cool. I would be totally down.
You know what they do? Instead of like having nice response, dick response, neutral response, what they need to do is have that be different eras of Batman, like your Adam West response and your Frank Miller response and your Denny O'Neil response.
Now, and then the more responses you give like that, the more you become those characters.
Your costume literally changes.
That
It's
would be
make
really
your own
cool.
Batman story.
I'd be so on board for that. There's no way they're gonna do that.
But you know what they are going to do, though?
What's that?
There's going to come a point, because there's a point like this in just about every Telltale game, where someone's going to be asking you questions, and they're going to be life or death important questions. That person's going to be the Riddler, and you're going to have to solve actual riddles on the fly.
That's such a great feature. I am so fucked because I can never solve the Riddler's riddles.
Because they're always dumb.
They're always really hard.
Why is a raven like a writing desk?
I don't know. Why is a fall? That's just a Simpsons joke.
But you see, that's okay, because the Frank Miller response, and that will be punch him in the dick. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, before he finishes his riddle, punch him in the balls.
Mission accomplished. You get a gold star.
There's a game that I skipped that I just wanted to talk about really quick. It's going back to like the Genesis and Super Nintendo. The death and return of Superman.
Oh yeah, was that a thing? That was a thing.
It's fucking fun, and you get to be all the Supermen, and you fight Doomsday, and you fight Hank Henshaw, and like, it's super fun, super stupid. And I remember that they brought it into the Superboy comic, so like Superboy was playing it, and that was really cool. I was like, this is a cool world I'm living in right now.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it right now. As another side scroll. Yep, you could play as Steel. You could play as the Eradicator. Yeah,
it was really cool. Okay, so we've belayed the point long enough. The Arkham games are easily some of the best prototypes for any superhero game you ever want to play. They're amazing. At least 2 or 3 of them are. But you know what? There's always some element that works. I was not expecting much from Arkham Asylum because I played probably 4 Batman games. The Batman game for like for the PC. There was a Batman game, Rise of the Shinzu.
Which should have been great because it was. Yeah, it should have been great because it was in the animated continuity.
Yep, got everybody from the old show back to play those characters. There's a Batman animated series, like Sega CD game. There's also the movie tie-ins, Batman Returns, Batman Forever. Fucking terrible. Batman Vengeance, which was also terrible. But like
Dark Tomorrow, which is also bad.
But like
that's the thing people don't know about Batman. He had a lot of terrible games in a row. You think Batman, one of the greatest comic characters ever, surely he'll lend himself to a good game. Not for many years.
No, it took them a long time to figure out how to make that freaking thing work. And
yeah, like it's weird from a game design standpoint. It's like, wait, so he's a ninja, but he's also the best fighter in the world, and he has all these gadgets. I don't know.
And he's a detective. Oh, damn it! How about he just punches people? Like, but finally they make Arkham Asylum.
A game that lets you do it all.
You do it all and infinitely more. You actually get to do pretty much every element. And of course, Paul Dini wrote it.
So you know it's good.
So you know the guy knew and gets the character and is like, you need to be able to do this, this, and this.
And you got Kevin Conroy to voice it, so you know it's good. And you got Mark Hamill, so you know it's good.
Exactly. Everything was working. Everything was firing on all cylinders. And they're just like, hey, get ready for some shit. And they didn't blow their wad. Like they say they withheld some villains, but they used some others, or they hinted at others. Amazing.
You could argue the first one was the highest point, then it was kind of from there.
I mean, of course, like everybody else, I could not wait for Arkham City, and
bought it first day. I know I did.
First day, so fucking fun to play. Literally making it, it's Arkham Asylum, but it's bigger. Yeah, that's what I want. I want just that.
You can go visit the Calendar Man every day, and he'll say shit.
And he'll say different shit. You visit him on Christmas. Hold on, family. Shut up. I gotta go visit the Calendar Man.
Yeah, really. It's a special thing that I can only do today.
But Arleen, and then the last voice debut, or the swan song of Arleen Sorkin as Harley Quinn. That was the last version.
That's right, that was, and then it was Tara Strong forever after.
Makes me sad.
Like, I love Tara Strong. She does a good job. She's good in everything. But Arleen Sorkin was my first, though.
She was Harley Quinn. She was literally the basis for Harley Quinn.
Paul Dini based it on her when they were driving to work, and that's why she voiced the character.
Exactly. Just perfect. But Tara Strong does a nice job, and all the other people who have done Harley over the years have brought their own element to it that makes it fun. But
Margot Robbie's going to be doing her own thing in the movie soon.
So who knows? I'm sure it'll be huge. No, by the way, Arleen Sorkin did not die. She just stopped doing the character.
which is sad. I mean, although to be fair, Mark Hamill stopped doing the character too. He's just coming back for one more thing.
Yes. Now that said, Arkham City, knowing that Mark Hamill was done doing the character and having that ending, holy shit. What a solid goddamn ending.
But comics got a comic book, so we needed to have the cash grab sequel prequel with Origins, where they got who's the guy they got to replace him?
That was the guy who played Booker DeWitt.
And Pagan Mim.
Nolan North? I don't remember his name.
No, Nolan North is the other guy.
He's Deadpool, right?
Yeah, Nolan North is Deadpool
Troy
and
Baker.
Superboy. But Troy Baker, who don't get me, Troy Baker is amazing in his own right and everything, and he does a perfect Hamill impression, but he's not Mark Hamill.
But he's not a Mark Hamill. He does an okay job, but you can hear not Mark Hamill in that voice.
He apes it perfectly fine, but you can tell the difference. I can't believe it's not Mark Hamill.
Exactly. So we got Arkham Asylum, which is amazing. Arkham City, which I think is on par. It's pretty much as awesome.
I think it kind of like again, it's great. It is on par. I think its biggest problems come in at the end where they're like, okay, well, we need we need
Oh,
Strange, and we need Ra's al Ghul, and we also need a Joker fight, and we need this. It's like, you guys did too much at the end.
they did too much because I think they were like not sure if they were going to do anymore. And for me, because like they made Knight, I don't have a next gen console, so I still have not played Arkham Knight. Which,
I have not played it either, but
That's
for
amazing.
different reasons. I haven't played it either because I got really icked out and grossed out by their money grubbing DLC
yeah.
rollout that they were doing. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to buy it now. And in a year, when you release the complete definitive collection, I'll buy that.
Exactly.
And also, too, apparently the game was broken as shit on PC.
That's right. Once I heard it was busted, I'm like, okay, I'm not in any rush.
Same here.
But I did not care for Origins too much. It was just like, all right, well, whatever. Nobody's back that I want to see.
Now, it's funny, Origins is Origins and it has a lot of problems, but by God, were there some great redesigns in that. I love how Bane looks in those games.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like the roided out, like, he's like the Hulk in a mask.
Oh, no, not the tank monster version
no,
from the
you
other.
like
I'm
the-
talking like Arkham Origins when he actually looks like
Where
a
he looks
human
like a
being.
human being. Yeah, no, that's a cool design.
When he's just a big, tough, charismatic militia leader. I'm like, thank you. Where's that version?
Yes, that's cool.
But Bane's been in such a weird place because they're like, oh, well, Dark Knight Rises is coming out. Make him wear the shirt from the movies. Oh, but the Arkham games are big. But put the big dumb tank on him, too.
Just take two incongruous things and slap them together
and make him wear the coat, too.
Yeah, the coat that time to go mobile.
Remember the iconic coat, everyone. Bane's
Yes,
iconic coat that
Bane's
we'll remember
great
forever.
coat. I believe it was featured on the cover of the breaking of the Bat issue of Nightfall. But yeah, no.
I love how they overthought that character. It's like, well, he needs this stuff and he needs a bunch of straps and I guess an iconic coat, maybe.
Yeah, maybe a coat. I don't know. But
Bane is great because he's simple. He's a luchador in a black tank top.
exactly. Like I don't understand how hard that is to like. It was like when they redesigned everybody for the Batman season 4 animated series, and they're like, okay, so we had the Bane costume from the comic. How about instead we make him like an S&M bondage type character?
Like a leather sex freak.
Like,
and
what
the
are you
funny thing
doing?
about that costume is it only looked good in Over the Edge. It sucked everywhere else they used it.
Yeah, Over the Edge, because you're like, what am I even looking at? No, that's a weird decision, but he's that way everywhere, and you're like, damn it, that looks so stupid. It's so weird.
Which I love Over the Edge because he's got those cracked, fucked up teeth, and he's got the spiky collar, and he's like, give your dear daughter a kiss for me. Which they didn't change the voice actor; it was the same guy. It was Henry Silva.
That voice, I don't think Henry Silva did a better performance of Bane than in Over the Edge.
Oh, he was owning it. He was owning the whole thing.
Because I think he knew we're done. I'm not Bane anymore. We're ending the show. But for me, I was so excited when Harley's Revenge came out for Arkham City because for me, I was like, oh, this is what we're going to do now, where Arkham City is the bedrock, and all sequels will be.
We're just gonna keep adding on to it.
Just add elements, just add levels, just add and then Two-Face does something. Just refill the city with people and make the DLC $10, and you roll out a different DLC every other year,
Wouldn't that have been nice?
And that's the game. You bought the game, it's the bedrock, and now you just keep buying different things. And then you do a Ra's al Ghul thing, and you do a fucking Mad Hatter full episode. You just and they're just full story arcs. Fucking awesome. Didn't do it. Harley's Revenge was not as good as advertised, and it doesn't. And of course, I think after it didn't do as successfully, they were like, "Yeah, we're not gonna do that. Yeah, fuck that. Nah, let's just roll out with a totally different game."
And again, too, the game industry just being the way game industry is, it's like, no, we need a new one for Christmas next year.
Yeah, and we need to have a car in it, and we'll make that 2/3 of the game. No,
Man, the Batmobile was such a monkey's paw of a thing because fans complain nonstop. It's like, well, when are we gonna get to drive the Batmobile? Yeah, but when's the Batmobile section? They're like, fine, the next one's gonna be nothing but Batmobile.
that kills me so hard because I was like, I didn't miss it at all. In any
Neither
of the
did I.
games. I'm flying across the fucking city. I'm grappling off gargoyles and soaring across the thing. I'm creating combos where I'm jumping out of places, and I'm 10 feet in the air. I'm jumping off the tallest goddamn buildings in Gotham City. Who needs the fucking Batmobile when I'm goddamn Batman flying around? Oh, a cool car? Fine. All right, you want your cool car? Put it in the fucking Batmobile or in a Batcave level. Maybe he needs to get someplace faster that he can easily get, but then you make that a challenge too. Like, you know what? I bet I could grapple faster than the Batmobile could. And you just try, make it some stupid optional timed tail chasing level and see what happens. But no, they'll just make 2/3 of the game.
Yeah, make it a segment. Yeah, don't make it all about it.
No, don't make it all about your stupid tank. Nobody cares. Yeah, as far as the Arkham games go, like, that gives us hope that there could be even more. Like, there could be more games like that.
And now that they're essentially more or less done with the Arkham series, that publisher is free to do anything else they want now. What would you like to see them tackle next?
I want them to do a Spider-Man game.
Would be cool.
I want literally Arkham. I've said this a couple times, but it bears repeating because maybe they'll do it if I say it enough and enough people like it. But I want Arkham City or Arkham Asylum. Just it's a but it's the Raft from Marvel, where it's like a super max prison off the coast of Manhattan, and Spider-Man's there, or Spider-Man's swinging across the city, and you do like a little scene where a helicopter. It's literally New Avengers, but without the Avengers. It's just a helicopter's coming by. Spider-Man like webs onto it to get to the explosion. You do the electro blast through the raft like it was in New Avengers #1. Spider-Man gets there. He's the only superhero who can stop it.
And he's got to fight all his old villains who were in there.
He goes into the raft, and he's got to fight through the villains, and like certain levels or certain cells get broken open, or some characters set other characters free. But it's literally the same thing where you got to explore and go through ducts and hide and jump out, and like you don't really get this web swing too much because there's not a lot of things to web swing from. But just like you don't get really a Batmobile, like it's okay. You can use your webbing for everything else. And occasionally you can go outside, and when you go outside, you see that like Galactus is attacking the city, and you see all the heroes like attacking them. And occasionally, like at a certain point in the game, Galactus like swats at the Human Torch, and he knocks a fragment of the Baxter Building, and it lands into the raft, so that you have now created a new level full of gadgets and shit that Spider-Man can then use to up his game.
You've given this a lot of thought.
Oh yeah, I was literally writing it as I'm playing through Arkham Asylum the first time. Like, if I was Spider-Man, I'd be... And like Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions almost does that with Noir, where he's like hiding, and it's literally just Batman Arkham City.
It is.
But I want it to go further, where you're just... And you can... And you input different codes, and you get different Spider-Man suits, the more you play.
And you know what? Because Spider-Man has superpowers and super strength in his own right,
yeah.
You could actually have him getting into a good, honest punch fight with some bosses, unlike in most of the Arkham games where it's like, well, how does Batman not beat him in one punch?
I mean, you could do a scene where Purple Man escapes, and he manipulates Spider-Man into doing what he wants, and then you go into Spider-Man's head, and he's fighting through his villains, and Uncle Ben is the tether that will get him to break the concentration from Purple Man. Like, it writes itself, and it would be fucking great. Just go do that. Just do it, and then milk it and ruin it, and get another third-party studio to do the fucking third sequel, and then just destroy it. Like, because then it could just be Marvel Universe. Another game that I'm pitching, by the way, we'll do that, and then we'll wrap up. Is like, I'll of course throw it to you. I want you to pitch a game as well, but like. Lego owns the Marvel and DC characters.
They do.
Where the fuck is our Marvel DC Universe Lego?
Oh, they're working on that.
I mean, like, I would think that they don't even have to, because they have all the sprites and shit. Just throw them all in. That's a game that will, like, how much did Lego Marvel superheroes make? Well, how much did DC heroes make?
A fair amount.
Add them together, and there's your game.
I know, right? Like, it seems like such a no-brainer. It's like, do you like money? Do you like success?
Right? Yeah. That's a game that I feel like is a no-brainer, and I feel like because they have those properties in their, like, already, and no one's gonna tell them don't do it, or no one's gonna take them away from them. So it's like, I feel like Lego has enough clout where they could just say, oh, by the way, we're gonna be doing this, and they're like, well, but they're our most distinguished competition, we hate them. And it's like, well, you
love money,
if you want to make Lego games, then you'll just let me do this shit.
Yeah,
that'd be fucking great. But yeah, those are the two games that I'm the most excited to see. As far as video,
I would play both of those.
As far as comic book video games go, I did see one time I saw a X-Men mod on an Unreal tournament.
Oh,
which was hilarious. It was weird, and I was like, this is cool, and then it was not cool, because you're like, how far can a first-person shooter X-Men game go?
man, X-Men's had some terrible games too. Remember X-Men Destiny, a game so bad it killed the company that made it. It killed Silicon Knights.
Yes, and by the way, like, cool concept, and apparently it was really good. I never even played the damn thing, because I didn't even get a chance to, but you make
It was
your own,
cool in
you
concept.
make your own mutant. Like, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Couldn't do nothing with it, sadly.
No, and then the studio was dead, and they were like, yeah, we're not doing that again.
Another Canadian company, that went under.
But what are you looking to see? What do you want to buy?
Oh, well, you know what? You did 2 pitches, so I'll do 2 pitches too. Obviously, huge Green Arrow fan. I would love to see them do something with him for a couple of reasons. One, because the show, even though I don't like it, is huge, so I'm surprised they haven't tried some sort of video game synergy.
Agreed.
The other thing is, man, I don't know how many modern games you played a couple years ago, but archery was everywhere. There was archery in the new Tomb Raider.
Yep.
There was archery in Far Cry. Thank you. There was archery in Assassin's Creed. I'm like, man, all these games with archery, and you can't give a game to like one of the most famous comic book archers of all time.
Right? What the
You can't
hell?
make nothing happen.
And a Green Arrow game, I think, would sell better than a Hawkeye game. So absolutely, like that's a no-brainer.
I can see the tutorial level now. You wash up on the island from your booze cruise, and you literally got to jump around and learn and put all your shit together.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would.
There's your tutorial. My other pitch I had, and again, I'm surprised they haven't tried to do something like this. We don't see a lot of movie tie-ins anymore to comic stuff, and maybe that's good because they've all been terrible, like Green Lantern and Thor and everything.
Yeah, agreed.
They've all been awful, but man, I would love a like 4 to 5 person co-op Left 4 Dead Borderlands style game done with the Suicide Squad characters.
That'd be cool.
Where you kill guys with your friends, and then you get to do your special power.
Yep.
Like with Deadshot, he'll like headshot a million people, and Harley Quinn will pull out a big mallet, and Captain Boomerang will have like electric boomerangs.
Right. I mean, like that's such a woefully underutilized element of gaming in general. The cooperative aspect. Now I know that, like every game boasts having co-op. Yeah. Across the fucking like ocean to get to somebody else, but like
where's my couch co-op?
Where's my couch co-op? Where's my friend, or at least like locals? I mean, even a system link, but I can't even system link half my Halo games. Like, what the crap? Like, I love the idea of playing up a couch co-op.
Like, heck, that new game that's coming out, The Division from Ubisoft, where it's like, post a horrible virus in New York, and, you're playing a bunch of, like, scruffy military dudes who are going in looking for loot and everything. I'm like, now, see, why couldn't this have been a Suicide Squad game? Why couldn't one of those scruffy military dudes have been Deadshot?
Right, that would be really cool.
And then, like, all the bosses and all the elite guys are, like, friggin', I don't know, like, Flag Smasher or something.
Right, yeah. That'd be really cool. I love that. Nice. Well, there you go. We just pitched 4 amazing games that we'll probably never see.
Someone please take these ideas and give us money.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even need the money. I will buy full price that Spider-Man game if you just make the damn thing exactly as I described it. Don't take an element. Don't make it like a no. There's a level like that in Shatter's Dimension. That's a level.
Knowing the modern game industry, okay, we made it, but it's going to be episodic and you can pay for DLC.
Yeah, eat a dick. No, I'm not going to be doing that.
Did you hear they're going to do that with Hitman now? From like, oh yeah, it's going to be a big full game. It's another reboot. Don't pay attention to the last reboot we did. Okay, well now it's going to be episodic.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I think the idea of making episodic games has merit. I think that
Oh, I think so too. When you're Telltale and when you're like Life is Strange and when you're trying to tell a story and everything.
Yes, if you have a true story to tell and you're doing that and you're using the technology at your disposal, like that's fucking cool. But when you're
not for like a AAA thing.
No, when you're just like splitting the game into
to make more money
and you're not even really done with it, you're like we know. That's the thing. Like I don't get like lying in major industries at this point because it's like we all know.
And the internet will find out if they don't.
Yeah, and there are lunatics who are going out of their way to find this information just to fact check you.
Yeah.
Just so they can be the scoop that has the information. And then they find out that you're just a bunch of liars. It drives me nuts. Because it's just a complete refusal to acknowledge what's already there. It's like when people say, it's like when a dying industry just refuses to get in bed with the next industry because they're just like, I don't want to do that. They're ruining everything. Like everything, but you'll be out of a fucking job unless you get in bed with these people. Like, just
Oh, yeah.
accept it. Embrace change, as it were.
I can't. Change is scary.
Fair enough, but, you know, what's scarier is living out of your car. You know? But yeah, so there you have it, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Elseworlds Exchange on comic book video games.
I hope you enjoyed it.
If you want to hear Joel and I chat about other topics, please tweet us at the DVD Grouch and at Sal Says What using the hashtag Elseworlds Exchange. We use it when we're tweeting out the show. Use it when you're tweeting at us ideas and suggestions. We'd love to hear them. And hey, if you want to listen to the Elseworlds Exchange, but you don't have the time to watch it, or you're in your car, you can go to iTunes and type in Elseworlds Exchange, and guess what? You're gonna find these two plucky bastards over there on the pods casting it up. If I can get the next couple episodes freaking loaded, I don't know what's going on, but at least the first episode's up.
iTunes is hard, everyone, in case you're wondering. But once we get that working, you can listen to us when you're out mowing lawns or when you have to go visit your family, but you don't really want to pay attention. So you can just plug right in and you can listen to us.
I don't know what it is about people who are like who are really anti-podcasting, but they're totally okay with you listening to music. You know, like if you're just sitting if you're on a plane or in a train, or you're just like trying to ignore people, you're at the DMV and you got your shit in. If you're like, we listen to a podcast. Oh, cool, and we can talk because you're just listening to people talk. Well, that's basically what I'm doing. But if it's like almost in music, it's like, oh, excuse me, you're having a sacred experience.
I know, right?
And by the way, we're doing this through my server, so we're not. It will only be available through iTunes, and I'm working with Stitcher to try and get it for you Android users. I'm not putting it on SoundCloud because I got to pay a monthly effing fee to use it. So no, I'm not gonna pay to do that. I
didn't even know that was the case.
Yeah, you got to. Well, I mean, like I could put up like one episode, but they also have to be like small file size. It's just
and these aren't going to be small shows.
No, they're like 80 megs. It's great. Like, forget it.
We talk a lot.
Yeah, we do. They're long shows. They're at least an hour long. You're getting a damn crap load of content, ladies and gentlemen. So please,
getting your money's worth and then some.
That's right.
For this show you don't pay for.
Yeah. I like SoundCloud as well. I was actually my whole plan. There's a SoundCloud for ComicPOP. If you go to SoundCloud, type in ComicPOP, we're there. We have like a couple things available. It's just impossible they'll replace things you loaded because they're like, oh, you wanted something up. Here it is. Oh, where's the last thing? It's gone. So that's also why we created comicpop.bandcamp.com. It's where all of our comic commentaries have gone. And,
there you go.
Eventually, we'll probably throw those on iTunes as well. But for now, if you go to comicpop.bandcamp.com, by the way, every link that you need is in the description box below these videos. But if you go to there, you'll find our audio commentaries for Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends and the X-Men animated series. And
nice.
Transformers is not there because I have to like break a certain amount of sales and then they'll unlock a podcast length or something. It's bullshit.
Wow.
Our Transformers Age of Extinction's on this channel. Just type in Transformers Comic Pop and you'll get us. And it's.
Oh, you guys actually watched Age of Extinction?
Oh, we did a whole commentary about it because we didn't.
I'm sorry.
We had never seen it, and so we redboxed it and just said. When I went, wait, you know what? Let's just throw it on the commentary. We'll see how it sounds, and easily. I've never laughed harder than when we were like actively watching / making fun of Transformers 4.
It's really the only thing to do. It's the only way you can do it.
I couldn't wait for the best part of the whole movie is just Stanley Tucci going, "Oh my god!" Couldn't wait for that scene. That's why if you watch the video, the only image is of Stanley Tucci screaming, "Oh my god!" Fucking garbage. Anyway,
was there a moment where you're like, "It's coming, it's coming, it's coming"?
Yes,
up.
We were like, "Oh, they're in the car! Here it comes!" And then we thought it was happening, and then it didn't happen. We went, "Oh," and then it happened.
Yeah.
We just cheered. It was amazing. Anyway, we will see you guys next week with another episode of Elseworlds Exchange. Once again, if you want to see these topics, if you like, we don't necessarily talk about comics, but I noticed that gets the most traction. So we'll try to do some kind of spin on them. But for the most part, it's just whatever Joel and I feel like chatting about. But if you're interested in our opinion about one thing or the other, tweet us at the DVD Grouch and Sal Says What using the hashtag Elseworlds Exchange.
And we'll try and make it happen.
Seriously. Joel, what's happening on Cape Joel that we can tell them about?
Oh, man, a lot is happening on Cape Joel right now. For new weekly comic reviews, you can go check that out. I got the brand new Batman number 48. I got that up and reviewed. Probably when I'm done here, I'm going to attempt to upload my Suicide Squad breakdown either now or in the next couple hours. I talk for 13 minutes about that, so that's fun.
Nice.
I'm also experimenting with a news show. I did the Cape News Roundup where I literally got a little news graphic and put generic news music behind me while I talked about like the Justice League roster and the Punisher
cool.
Netflix show.
Nice.
So check that out and tell me what you think, guys. I don't know if I'm going to keep it or not. It's a busy week. I still got to review Flash and everything because all the new TV shows came back as well.
Yeah, awesome. And tomorrow, stay tuned for back issues. We're doing the original Marvel Superhero Contest of Champions from 1982.
Cool.
The second oldest story that we've done on back issues. The first one being the original Clone Saga from the 70s.
Nice.
But yeah, and also if you guys are fans of dramatic comics, you should check out our new show, Dramatic Comics, where we basically do like a radio drama using the original art from the original story and perform the scene. This upcoming week is going to be the night Gwen Stacy died.
Aw, that's very dramatic.
Yeah, it's overly dramatic. It's mellow dramatic, you might say.
You could say.
Yeah, I'm trying to pick the perfect music to make that work.
Nice.
But we'll see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much for watching. And Joel, thank you for joining me as always.
Always a pleasure.
See you next time, guys. So long.